The Student Accessibility Centre is a key resource for any student at Loyola seeking accommodations related to a disability. In this presentation, we will discuss the SAC's role of serving students with disabilities on Loyola's campus, how accommodations at Loyola work, and how you can request accommodations as a student at Loyola. First, we would like to address the SAC's mission, goals, and objectives. Then, we will present a general overview of the services that the SAC offers and the students we serve. We will clarify and define what we call barriers to access and explain how accommodations work to remove those barriers. A brief overview of the differences between accommodations provided in the high school environment and the support services available at the university level will be offered. We will describe the different types of accommodations that we offer through the SAC and provide a few examples of the types of support that students could potentially qualify for. Finally, we will examine the registration process and provide next steps for students who think that requesting accommodations with the SAC might be beneficial. As a participant in Loyola's Jesuit mission of justice and equity, the SAC's mission is to support, serve, and empower students with disabilities. To see this mission through, the SAC collaborates with students, faculty, and campus partners to implement reasonable accommodations. In addition to implementing reasonable accommodations for students, the SAC also works toward a more equitable campus for all students by promoting awareness of the needs of students with disabilities. Our goal is that through our work, we will help to create a more accessible experience for students. Some of our campus partners that you may recognize are Residence Life, the Office of Equity and Compliance, the Wellness Center, and many others. The SAC is the only office on campus mandated by the law to facilitate accommodations for students with documented disabilities. This means that if a student is seeking accommodations related to their disability, the SAC is the place to go. So, you may be wondering what accommodations actually are. We define accommodations as adaptations or changes in educational environment or practices that help students overcome the barriers presented by their disability. As the example shows, equality does not account for experiential differences, while equity emphasizes access. Accommodations are one way of achieving equity. All accommodations are approached on a case-by-case basis, based on what is reasonable and appropriate in each case. Accommodations are not retroactive, and an accommodation cannot fundamentally alter the academic integrity of the course. Accommodations are necessary because of the existence of barriers. According to the World Health Organization, barriers are factors in a person's environment that, through their absence or presence, limit functioning and create disability. Similar to the picture in the last slide, there's a key difference between equality and equity. However, the barrier that created the need for equity still exists in both photos. The goal of the SAC and of Loyola is justice, which is the removal of the barrier entirely when reasonable. Students who have received special education support and accommodations at the secondary school level are sometimes surprised by the differences in practice and supports at the university level. Here are some key differences between the supports for students with disabilities at the K-12 environment versus the university level. You may be familiar with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which ensures that all children with disabilities have available to them a free, appropriate public education that emphasizes special education. In the K-12 public school environment, there are related services designed to meet their unique needs, which should prepare students for successful employment and independent living. Under IDEA, the student's disability-related needs are identified by the school, which is responsible for the student's success, with the parent being the major advocate for the student. In contrast, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act, as amended, are the guiding principles when dealing with post-secondary education. These laws are about access, in which no qualified individual will be excluded from participation. Under Section 504 and the ADA, students gain access to the curriculum, but the student is the primary advocate and determines their own success. The student must self-identify to the school to receive services. The Loyola Student Accessibility Center exists to support students and faculty by identifying appropriate accommodations and facilitating discussions surrounding accessible curriculum, environments, and experiences for students with disabilities on campus. The SAC offers academic accommodations for barriers that students experience in the classroom. As detailed on the screen, there are a wide variety of ways that these barriers can be addressed based on students' individual experiences. The SAC partners with the Residence Life team at Loyola to identify barriers in the living environment and implement reasonable accommodations. Our team communicates regularly with campus providers to provide accessible living arrangements and modified meal plans for students with disabilities on campus who are experiencing barriers to access. Students interested in receiving housing accommodations or meal plan modifications are invited to register with the SAC to begin determining reasonable accommodations. Similar to academic accommodations, housing and dietary accommodations are determined on a case-by-case basis. Registration with the SAC does not guarantee that a student's request will be granted. More details regarding housing and dietary accommodations can be found on the SAC website in the Policies and Procedures section. Experiential learning is often a key element in undergraduate and graduate study. For this reason, it's important to know how to approach accommodations in the internship and experiential learning settings. Given the complexities of implementing accommodations in these types of settings, it's important to discuss the details of your specific accommodation with your accessibility specialist so they can best support you. We recommend this conversation occur 4 to 6 weeks before these field-based courses begin. The SAC facilitates the process of obtaining accommodations for students studying abroad. SAC specialists work directly with the Office of International Education to help students interested in applying their academic or residential accommodations to programs abroad. Accommodations often look a little different abroad, and depending on where students study, they may not apply the same as they do at Loyola's home campuses. It's very important that students studying abroad notify the SAC in a timely manner before they leave the United States. The process of addressing barriers to access through the use of accommodations is as follows. Students must first complete an online application for accommodations, which can be found on the SAC's website. Once the SAC has received the student's application, a member of our staff will review the application and documentation that the student has submitted and follow up with the student via email to schedule an initial appointment. The student will then meet with an SAC staff member to determine reasonable and appropriate accommodations. This means that accommodations cannot be applied retroactively. Finally, accommodations are meant to guarantee access to the university resources. but the student must take responsibility for their own academic success. Our goal is to help students feel empowered to take the necessary steps to achieve their goal by removing barriers that prevent them from accessing their opportunities. The SAC uses various types of documentation to inform their decisions when considering an accommodation request. Although documentation is not required to begin the process of registration with the SAC, it's an important source of information that can help the SAC determine the most reasonable accommodations for students with disabilities. Here are just a few examples of documentation that help the office determine access barriers. Alternatively, students may also send the SAC disability verification form to their licensed professional or medical provider to fill out and return to the SAC. Submission of documentation does not guarantee that accommodations will be granted. Please contact the SAC directly if you have questions or concerns regarding documentation. You may also consult our Policies and Procedures section on our website to read more about documentation, guidelines and requirements. The SAC aims to facilitate an ongoing relationship between students, staff and faculty during the duration of the student's academic journey at Loyola. Students are encouraged to communicate often with the SAC and may request appointments at any time to modify existing accommodations or request additional support. Accommodations and related supports may look different from class to class, and the SAC regularly collaborates with campus partners to address barriers to access and improve supports and access for students with disabilities. If you have any questions or want to contact the SAC, feel free to call, email or drop into our office from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. We look forward to supporting you at Loyola University of Chicago.